Alright, on to iOS, my good old iPad, my good old iPhone, and there's a lot of stuff to talk about here, or at least it seems like it because they talked about it for literally forever during the keynote, like I almost fell asleep. So, hopefully I can wrap this up a little bit quicker than they did. So, first thing they focused on that I actually liked a whole lot is performance on older devices, which I think is really cool because a lot of people still have older devices. A lot of people don't upgrade their iOS devices a lot, and they actually use the iPhone 6 as an example on screen, which I think is really cool because I have an iPhone 6 still, and it still works pretty darn well for the shape it's in. I did get the battery replaced, so I may be affecting that a bit, but I'm still impressed that it still lasts this long running the newest version of iOS this later. But anyhow, iOS 12, it's going to be able to launch apps faster, the keyboard will pop up faster, and better performance under high workloads. There's a lot of stuff they're working on optimizing on older devices so that they run faster and they don't clunk out, which is awesome because I don't want my phone to clunk out. Next, let's go ahead and talk about that group FaceTime thing, which is a feature I think should have been in iOS this whole time, or at least a lot earlier than now, the group FaceTime. You can now have a group FaceTime. You can FaceTime multiple people at the same time. I guess I just never really done group video chats before, so I never really realized that you had to have a third-party app on your iPhone or iPad in order to do that. But now you can do it with FaceTime, which is really awesome. That's one less thing you have to download. You can just use the built-in app for group chats, group video chats. And the way they did it was kind of interesting. It looked kind of cool. They basically had little floating bubbles, except instead of bubbles, they were squares, which was interesting, with rounded edges. So they still looked nice. They looked modern. And every time someone would talk, the square got bigger. It reminds me of the voice chat on. You guys are gonna hate me for saying this, but in the Splatoon 2 voice chat on the Nintendo Switch Online app, where there are bubbles in the room and they get bigger as that person talks. That's basically what this looks like. But anyhow, another interesting thing is you can actually put a link to a group FaceTime into a group chat, so anybody in that chat can click the link and join the video conversation or drop out at any time. Overall, I just think it's a really cool feature, and the way they're going about implementing it is really, really good. They weren't just kind of like, hey, here's group FaceTime. They actually worked it out, and I think they've made it work pretty darn well, and I'm very happy that they did. So I'm really interested to try that out and take it for a spin myself when it comes out in iOS 12. So guess what? You can now create, and I don't really care about this because I don't have an iPhone 10, so I can't even do this. But you can now create your very own Animoji, your very own personalized to you, and you'll never guess what they're calling this. Prepare to cringe in 3, 2, 1. Memoji. And no, it is not spelled M-I-I, or else they get sued because Nintendo has trademarked that. Nope, it's M-E-moji. But every time she said Memoji, I'm thinking of M-I-I emoji. That makes sense. But anyways, other than the name, which is an absolutely stupid name, the actual feature is actually pretty darn cool. Basically, imagine something like the Me Maker, but it's only their face. That's funny because it's Memoji and it's kind of like the Me Maker, but it's only their face, and it actually has a lot more customization options and fine-tuning things and stuff like that. It's overall gives you much more customization options than Me's do. I know I'm comparing cross-platform video games and lifestyle technology makes no sense, but I am doing it, so don't judge. But anyhow, there's a lot more customization to these Memojis than there are in Mii's, and when you can actually see it being rendered in real time, and it's still tracking your face as you're moving around your face. Your Memoji that you're creating, I still think the name is dumb. The Memoji you're creating is moving in real time, and it's just overall, it looks like it's a really cool and fun experience. If it wasn't called Memoji, yeah, like I said, it looks like a really cool, fun thing that if I ever got a phone capable of doing it, I would screw around with all the time because it looks so fun. But just the fact they decided to call it Memoji just destroys the whole thing for me. Why would you do that? While we're talking about Animoji, there are 4 new Animoji. There is I gotta look at my paper here, alright? We got a lion, which looks more like a house cat with lion stripes on it than an actual lion. There's a koala bear, which actually looks pretty cool. There's a ghost that just looks like the Snapchat logo, so that's dumb. And my personal favorite, there's a freaking dinosaur, supposed to be a T-Rex, but it looks like a cartoon dinosaur. So I'm just calling it that. Oh, and here's something a lot of people other than me will love. They're spicing up the camera with some really weird effect thingies. See, I personally, maybe I'm just weird, but I've never understood I never understood the concept of wanting to do weird things with your camera. I mean, kind of. Like, I had a DSi when I was younger, and that thing, you could, like, do mirrors and stuff and distort pictures, and that was fun because the end result didn't even look like a picture anymore. But that's not fun anymore because I'm not a kid. But for some reason, like, all the Snapchat filters and stuff, like, I've never understood the point of that. But anyhow, this gets weird. So basically what we can do here with the camera app now is we're able to, I'm just going to give you some stuff I remember off the top of my head because there was a lot. You can take stickers from sticker packs and you can place those stickers into your picture, which is kind of cool actually, I'm not going to lie. Oh, and you can stick an Animoji or your own Memoji on top of your own head in the picture, which I honestly don't even understand why you would do that. Why? You just send them an Animoji, or you can send them a video of an Animoji stuck on your face. Like, it doesn't make much sense. But there's a lot of other stuff. I'm looking at their website right now, and they've kind of like put some special effects around a New Year's celebration or something like that. So cool, I suppose. So yeah, I guess there is some cool stuff you can do with the camera. It's just not really my thing to spice up the picture. If you're gonna take a picture, in my opinion, just take a picture. You don't have to be weird with it, but you can now be weird with it if you want. That's a thing. You can do that. All right, let's talk about AR for a bit. Augmented reality, and there is so much stuff going on here. I almost feel like I almost feel like the main focus of iOS 12 was new augmented reality stuff going on, which kind of sucks for me because I have, like I said, an iPhone 6 and an iPad mini 4. Both of those devices do not support ARKit in any way, so I can't use AR applications, and it really sucks because I really wanted to from the beginning, and now that they got this new ARKit improvements going on, it makes me want to even more. Yeah. So you can now have multiplayer AR experience thingies, which is super duper sweet. You can have, they didn't actually give a limit to the number of people, but they did have a little bit of demo playing on the screen where they showed how 3 different people could interact with the same world in real time in augmented reality, which I think is really, really cool. It opens up the opportunity for a lot of really, really interesting and innovative single-player games on iOS, but also it could go the complete other way, and we could end up with the technology just dying off. And it seems like it's always a hit or miss with stuff like this. This could revolutionize games on iOS and create a whole new genre, or it could just kind of die off and everyone will just kind of forget it exists. One of the two, I'm not really sure which one we're going to end up here, but it's still an interesting concept anyway. And I think, like I said, it would be really, really fun to play augmented reality with your friends. So really hoping I get to try that out at some point, maybe on someone else's phone or iPad since I can't do it on my own. But it just looks like a really fun concept, and I'm really happy they're going with it. Oh, there's also a new app called Measure, and they weren't very clear as to which devices would be supporting and able to use the Measure app. It seemed to be an augmented reality thing, so probably just the devices that support ARKit are going to be able to do that. But basically, it's an app that you can use to measure objects in the real world just using your phone, which I think is awesome because I'm always the person that always loses the measuring tape and things like that and needs to measure something, and I want to be able to do that. So that just makes it way easier for me, except it's probably not even going to be on my phone, so that's a disappointment. Hi, let's talk about screen time now. Yeah, that's the thing. Basically, there's a whole system of tracking screen time now. Imagine Nintendo Switch parental controls. That's basically what Apple's gone and done here. Thanks, Nintendo. We all hate you for that. But anyhow, basically, you can get a very comprehensive report of how much you've been playing on your apps and games, like each individual day, your breakdown of how many hours and minutes you use each app, and your average times where you use it the most during the day, which apps are sending you the most notifications, just so much information for you to view there, which I think is I think that's actually pretty cool to view the information. I think that's going to be fun for me to just look. I like to just look through information of how much time I spend on things, that kind of thing. This is always interesting to me to look through. So I'm really looking forward to that part. What I'm not looking forward to is the other part of you can set personal limits on yourself for how much you're going to use an app, which I think is kind of dumb. There aren't very many people in the world that are actually going to follow a limit. I know plenty of people will set a limit, but as soon as the limit goes off, they're just going to dismiss it and keep going exactly where they left off. And then, of course, parents can impose limits on their children through family sharing, which is basically Nintendo Switch parental controls all over again. Luckily, I never had to go through that nightmare, but if you did, don't update to iOS 12 or you're going to have to go through that whole nightmare all over again, but this time on your iOS device instead of your Switch. Eek. I'm so ready to be done with this video, but we're not even close. We gotta keep going. We gotta push through to the end. We got new changes to notifications. Are you surprised? Because literally every single iOS update that has existed since I started watching these keynotes has changed the way notifications work. And every time I get used to the new way, there's another new way. But anyhow, this time we get stacked notifications just like in watchOS. I'm all cool for that. We are all good. And you can also individually manage notifications by 3D touching on them. You can have them bypass the lock screen and go straight to Notification Center, which I don't really see why you want to do that. I like to see all my notifications up front. But if for some reason you don't want to see your notifications up front, you only want to see them when you pull on Notification Center, you can turn that off or turn that on so they all go to Notification Center. Or you can do that for individual apps as well, which is pretty cool. And you can also just turn off notifications directly from the lock screen, which is also an interesting concept. I'm not really sure why those specific changes were made to notifications, if any. But hey, it's a change in notifications because this would not be an iOS update, a real iOS update, if they didn't change the notifications in some way, shape, or form at this point, honestly. Alright, some freaking how they've improved Do Not Disturb. I mean, of all things, what in the world is there to improve about Do Not Disturb? But somehow they found a way to do it. Basically, they've added 3D touch capabilities to the Do Not Disturb button in Control Center. So you can now 3D touch on it and select whether you want to, how long you want to enable it, just for an hour, for the evening. And you can also do Not Disturb based on locations now. You can be Do Not Disturb till I leave this location. And you can even set it automatically so when you get to a certain location, Do Not Disturb will automatically enable somewhere like church, where you want your phone to go off for you to be distracted. And then Do Not Disturb disables itself automatically when you leave that location, which is pretty cool. Another pretty cool thing is that you can enable Do Not Disturb at bedtime or something like that. And basically when you go to sleep, it automatically enables Do Not Disturb onto your phone. And then when you wake back up in the morning, you're greeted with a little good morning screen, and then you dismiss it for all your notifications to show up. So that's interesting concept. Honestly, I have control over my mind and body, and I am able to sleep perfectly fine with my phone next to me without being distracted by notifications. But I understand there are people in this world that are not as mentally strong as I am, and they must have Do Not Disturb enabled in order to not touch their phone. I'm just kind of being sarcastic, but the point is you should be able to not ignore notifications yourself without Do Not Disturb. But if you need Do Not Disturb, it's now here. Oh, and for some strange reason that I will never understand, they decided to replace the Memories tab in Photos with the For You tab. And they spent a long time talking and trying to hype up this For You tab. And guess what I realized? It's literally just Memories with a new name. So I'm not really hyped at all. Oh, and also it'll now intelligently select that you share images of your friends with your friends. But I'm pretty sure I'm capable of sharing images with my friends, by myself, without help from my phone. And come on, my phone doesn't need to be telling me who I need to share my pictures with. I'll share my pictures with whoever the heck I want. Oh, and they've also made the photo search system smarter, which is another thing they do in literally every iOS update. So, nothing exciting here. Move along. Alright, let's talk about this real quick, just because we can. Siri shortcuts. I mean, it's not a bad idea, but at the same time, it's a horrible idea. It's an absolutely brilliant, great idea, but it's a horrible idea, and it's just so messy. Like they were trying to do the demo, and they did their best to make it sound really cool. And honestly, I was kind of hooked based on the description. But then I realized I can't even figure out what exactly this even is. It's very unclear I mean, there's a general idea of what it is, yes. Exactly what it is, exactly why it exists, I don't exactly know. I don't think anybody really knows. It's just one of those weird things that's like, okay. It's like it exists just to make our lives more complicated. That's how I want to describe this. Siri shortcuts equals complicated. Like, it is a very complicated process. It starts out not that complicated, all right? Basically, you talk to Siri. If you say a certain phrase that she recognizes, she'll pull up a little splash screen from an app with some information for you. Great. Then it gets a little bit more complicated. If you're in an app, it might suggest that you enable the Siri shortcut for that app. And so you do that. And then you have to record a specific phrase talking to your phone in order for it to know that when you say that phrase, it's time for that shortcut. So basically, instead of making Siri smarter and able to recognize your voice better, it's just like, all right, now you can tell Siri what to listen for, which I think is an interesting approach. It's probably the better approach, honestly, considering that we're probably never going to get to the point where AI fully understands us, at least not something like Siri. So, who even knows at this point? But here's where it gets super duper complicated and ridiculous. There's now an entire app on iOS that is the shortcut app. Why they didn't just put this in settings is beyond me, but for some reason, it just deserves its own app. Like, seriously, just put it in the settings. But anyhow, you can set up your own Siri shortcuts. How exactly that works, I have no freaking idea. Actually, I have a slight idea, alright? You set your voice phrase, right? Just like you did anything else. You just talk to your phone, just tell Siri to listen for, I'm heading home to know to activate a chain of events. And that's kind of like, if you guys have ever programmed with something like Lego Mindstorms or something like that, where it's like a flow chart of actions. Yeah, we're basically just building a flow chart of actions for Siri to execute when you say a phrase. So it's like I was saying before, it's a great idea, but it's a horrible idea. It's literally one of those things that it's a double-edged sword. Like, I don't know which side to go for. Like, I mean, it's like chocolate, but then there's poison in the chocolate. So, like, do you eat the chocolate, or do you risk being poisoned, or do you not eat the chocolate, but then that was a horrible analogy. The point is, I don't even know where to even start talking about this whole Siri shortcut thing. Because in the Shortcuts app, which they weren't very clear how exactly it worked, they just kind of started them dragging, dropping things into a flowchart. But the app, from the little bit that I saw, it looked like a mess. It looked like one of those things that I'm going to have to sit and spend 45 minutes trying to figure out how everything in the app works. And I don't really need to do that. So whether this is an actual useful feature or just an unnecessary extra app sitting on your home screen, I guess we will tell in time. But let me know what exactly you're thinking right now. Moving on to a concept much easier to understand, they are moving some popular iPhone apps to the iPad. They're moving stocks to the iPad. They are moving voice memos to the iPad. And for some reason, they are still not moving weather to the iPad. That is the one app that I have wanted on iPad since I started owning an iPad. Just freaking put the weather app on the iPad. It is not that difficult. iBooks has now become Apple Books, which has a completely new design, which honestly I'm not going to talk that much about, because honestly I don't remember exactly what it was, because I kind of zoned out during that point in the presentation. I'm not really a big ebooks person. If I'm going to read a book, I'm going to pick up a physical piece of paper between two bigger slabs of paper, and I'm going to read what's written on the sheet of paper. I'm not going to download it on my phone. I mean, I understand the usefulness of, like, classic books that are public domain you can download for free on iBooks or now Apple Books, but honestly, it's not like iTunes where you're going to download songs. I'm just not going to download books, so honestly, I just zoned out during that part. The Stocks app has been redesigned, which is good because that app looked very not modern, and now it actually kind of looks modern in the new version, so that's cool. Not like I'm ever going to use that app ever anyways, but at least it looks modern now. Alright, voice memos are now in iCloud. Not many thoughts on that other than voice memos in iCloud. Cool. But also a double-edged sword because now you have to buy more iCloud storage. And they also redesigned Apple News, although it didn't really look any different at all to me. You can be the judge of that if you'd like. Oh, and they've also added a sidebar to Apple News in the iPad, so that's cool. I like sidebars. It makes the iPad feel different than the iPhone, which is always good because I hate the apps that are identical on both iPad and iPhone because it doesn't really make me feel any special when I'm using my iPad. And yeah, that's pretty much it, or about that's as much as there really was to talk about. Be sure to leave likes on this video if you want to see more of content like this or similar to this in the future. Subscribe and enable notifications if you haven't already so you don't miss any of my content that may exist in the future or may not exist in the future. It just depends on what I'm doing the particular days where there's content to make. You know what I'm saying? No, you don't? Great. Well, yeah. Anyways, I was going to say something else, but I forgot. Oh, yeah, you should totally go in the comments and tell me what your thoughts on iOS 12 are based on the keynotes. And I think that I've been calling it iOS 11 this whole video now that I think about it. But trust me, it's iOS 12.